Welcome to So You Think That Was Good, Do You?
To the movie,
a podcast where we take a look back at the films from your childhood and question the absurdity of their universes. We've reached episode 35, and since it's almost Christmas, I've picked a film we've talked about a few times on this podcast, Deck the Halls from 2006, starring the much-maligned Matthew Broderick and the deliciously delightful Danny DeVito. My Christmas presents have come early this year because I'm joined again by no other than Sam and Carl. How you doing, boys?
I'm doing great, thanks. That was a great intro. Even you're a consummate professional now, even with us butting in and talking shit over it. Still just power on through.
I'll leave those in. Carl, how are you doing? Every fucking week you try and get away from this.
I'm just wondering why you keep saying what number episode we're at now.
At least it was right this
reached
time.
Episode 35.
Yes.
It's just a struggle on through.
It.
Although Evan does now start every episode with his head in his hands.
It's a fucking slog.
At this point, we're doing it for the fans. We're staying together for the kids. We don't like each other anymore.
Out for episode 30.
Oh, well, shall we get started with the plot synop as usual, boys?
We better do.
Yes. Steve, suburban dad and Christmas enthusiast, finds a wrinkle in his well-ordained existence with the arrival of his new neighbour, Danny. It is not Danny, is it? It's Buddy.
It's Buddy, yeah.
Great plot synop as usual. Danny has big dreams and plans to illuminate his house with enough holiday lights to make it visible from space. Not to be outdone, Steve declares war of one-upmanship with Danny that threatens to drag the Christmas spirit through the slush. Wow, that is the worst one yet.
Yeah.
That's so bad. You found the only person who paid less attention to this film than me.
That's not the movie we watched.
No.
It's a better movie.
Also,
it's not the movie.
What qualifies someone as having a well-ordained existence?
Did I read that right?
I don't know what that means.
I got no idea.
Yeah, no, oh, sorry. Well-ordered existence.
Oh, that makes more sense. Okay.
Okay,
it's a little bit better, but still bollocks.
Yeah, Danny's not right. I don't feel like there's one-upmanship in this movie. I feel like it's just Buddy does a load of stuff and Matthew Broderick whines through the entire movie.
Yeah, it's a fun little film with Buddy one-upping himself, with the occasional cut to punish us.
Oh, enjoying yourself, are you? Well, take a look at this. Let's preempt this with why I chose this movie.
I
never remembered it being good, but I thought that the oddness of Matthew Broderick being the protagonist and Danny DeVito being the antagonist was enough to make something interesting in this, but it turns out Matthew Broderick being in anything just makes it a really unenjoyable movie. And also, before you say, Sam, I can see you building up your little breaths to refute me there. I realised after this watch, it isn't even really set up like that. Matthew Broderick just is the dick the entire time.
Well, I wasn't sure. I was gonna pose that as a question. Is he the protagonist? Because I feel like he probably is.
Well, we're introduced to him first, as we're about to find out.
So he shouldn't be.
I don't think he is, but I don't think Danny DeVito is. I think they're both completely unlikable people, really. Like we all prefer one actor to the other, so we all instantly took a preference. But neither of them are likable individuals.
I feel like Danny DeVito's character starts off likable. He seems like he really tries to be Steven's friend, but it's just impossible, that task, isn't it?
Yeah, this film was about how living near Matthew Broderick will just weigh on anyone, grind them down until they are as much of a bastard as he is.
Yeah, we know why that house was empty. Right, we'll get started then, since we've already jumped right in. Let's power into this fucking awesome Christmas movie. We're introduced to our protagonist, Dr. Stephen Finch. He's just finished up giving an eye exam to the world's oldest woman, and there's some joke about her feeling hot when she has the glasses on, and he parades through town square. They're setting up the Winterfest.
How you do eye exams in America then. Do I look better with this lens or this lens? 1 or 2? Because he just sits himself in front of it.
There's no actual exam. I did wonder about, when you're looking at him, what can you really qualify as better?
Do I look more punchable with 1 or 2?
When they actually deck him, that's when he knows he's got the prescription right. Also, he doesn't even bother with the prescription. He reaches behind himself on a table and just grabs a random pair of glasses and puts them on it. And that's not how that works.
That's the last we see of that. Because next time we see him in his shop in the movie, it's like a pharmacy or something. It's not optometrists or whatever they're called in America.
But I also want to point out that I was really confused as to who he was at the start. Like, I wrote down, okay, he's the optician. But then everyone in town knows him, including people who don't wear glasses. I'm like, there's no optician this well connected. What is he? Is he the mayor as well? And he like moonlights as an optician? What's going on?
Well, he actually meets the mayor now. He parades through
Christmas
town after.
guy.
Yeah, he's the Christmas guy. He's Mr. Christmas. He's the
guy.
chairman of the Winter Festival Board, whatever the fuck that means. And it is insane that this is the most liked guy in town. People are stopping to talk to him. They cannot wait. They're jogging up to him. They're tripping over just in his presence. If there's one place on Earth I don't want to visit, it's where Matthew fucking Broderick is the most popular guy there. Imagine how awful everyone else is.
But as a trio of very liberal people, aren't we happy that they're not calling it Christmas anymore? We hate that. Winterfest. That's what we've always wanted. Been waging war on Christmas for years.
Yeah.
I just hate Christmas and family values in general.
So worth noting here, because it'll come up later, the big Christmas tree that's going up at the town square is being topped with a Marilyn Monroe little porcelain doll rather than an angel. That's it for now. So Dr. Finch, do I call him this the entire time? That's too much respect for him. Stephen, Matthew.
Call him Matthew.
Matthew arrives home, and now we get another little insert here. He tastes his wife cooking, and it's fucking horrible. That'll become important again later for some reason. Remember that subplot.
Well, will it? So what she says, she hands in this slop out of a bowl.
Yeah,
and says something like, "Can you taste the raw quail's eggs, or is the curry powder overwhelming it?" Something along those lines. She is an editor for cookbooks.
Yeah,
and she's right.
I mean,
so is this a subplot that she's shit at cooking?
Well, later on, she gets her own cookbook. I guess that's the only tie-in.
I assume she's making deviled eggs or something, but I'm sure the next instruction, if she got to it, was, and then cook the egg.
And then cook the egg.
Yeah.
Her entire cookbook is just the first 3 steps of every recipe. No wonder Matthew's miserable. He hasn't shit right in 30 years.
Why is everything raw eggs and curry?
She edits her cookbooks per recipe. She goes like, this really isn't as captivating in the last few steps. We're going to cut them. Just leave the first few in.
Prepare everything. Sit down for dinner.
I want to trim down the plot on this recipe a little bit.
So we have that. And then they sit down for a dinner, which they ordered because obviously she's a horrible cook. And over dinner, he reveals that he's got how many days on an advent calendar? 24-step plan for Christmas? He plans it out day by day. They put up one thing a day. The 3rd of December is the wreath. So this is the fucking pace this guy works at.
I've never met anyone who had a wood and an advent calendar that wasn't a bit of a Matthew Broderick, if we're honest.
Custom made, yeah.
Oh. And it didn't even have
pivoting doors.
It didn't even have chocolates or sweets. It was just preparing.
Here's a job
for
for today.
It's got jobs in it.
Yeah, I feel like...
Open the door on the advent calendar, see what job you get today.
As soon as you get to Boxing Day, he just gets it out again and goes, well, we'll start from 1, and when we've undone that thing, we'll turn it back round. Just awful.
5th of December, looks like you've got breaking open the quail's eggs today, Coulter. Coulter, was that his name? Whatever the son's name is.
I didn't absorb names beyond Buddy and Steve, if I'm honest.
None of them matter. Well, the person who wrote the plot synopsis didn't even take in Buddy, so...
I only tuck in Buddy because it's the second Christmassy Buddy in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty easy. And so after dinner, him and who I thought was Katie Holmes, but it is not. It's some other actor I can't remember the name of right now, but his wife's name is Kelly.
Someone from Sex and the City.
Ah.
There you go. I'm the trivia guy.
I'll leave that
That's what I've
silence
got.
in. That was very nice.
I don't go beyond
that thing
that.
none of us know anything about. And they just basically rail on their kids for half an hour in bed, talking about how fucking weird they are and assign none of the blame to themselves. I mean, the daughter's just a normal teenage girl, and the son, they think, is having a midlife crisis because he's worried about having achieved nothing. But when every day of his is a job, maybe you would feel that way.
It's a really weird, go on.
I was going to say, we get this after them taking off a shitload of bed pillows, which also just makes them awful people to me. 5 minutes of taking pillows off your bed to go to bed. The fuck
I was
is
going
that
to skip
about?
over this because I thought it was too boring a note, but what is up with people who have 20 fucking pillows on their bed? Why does the bed have to be covered in pillows that you just take off every time you go near it?
This is gold, boys.
Madness.
This is the new
Wooden
what's up
advent
with
calendars.
aeroplane food.
And bed pillows that you don't sleep on. And then aren't our kids weird? What they need is to get strangely into Christmas. That will make them happier. That'll make them some
that was a weird
friends.
solution.
Well, I mean, on that kind of, this is the scene we're talking about is the massive bedtime exposition dump of let's recount our lives in bed.
Here's who we
really
are.
Quickly. But all of the stuff that they cover is what we've just seen. We've just seen the son having a little identity crisis and the daughter being disenfranchised with Christmas. You've shown and then also told. Pick one.
Well, it's got to feel like a job watching this film. Just like, Christmas.
It's the first day of Christmas. What's our job? Watch Deck the Halls.
Well, it felt like it. It took me twice as long to watch this than it should have. They're in bed, and I've written Dr. Finch everywhere, which is really throwing me off now. Matthew hears a van sort of coming down the street. It's creaky, it's noisy. He takes a peek out the window. He can see there's people moving in across the road. Also, very weird street where it's just two houses opposite each other.
Yeah.
And then they're just in a cul-de-sac. Super strange setup. One house is massive, like a mansion, and the other one is a bit ramshackle, which is the one that Buddy is moving into.
It's really isolated. They're living in a weird sort of Truman Show place where everyone else is just background to their weird little insular lives. But I know I'm going into way too much detail on this scene because we're still on it. But I could not ignore the way that Matthew Broderick walks across the bedroom. And I'll be honest, how he walks and runs and moves everywhere in this film.
Yeah.
He always looks like he's shit himself. Every single time.
100%.
Like there's someone off screen motioning for him how he should be walking, and he's watching them trying to copy it. Because I noticed it when he crosses the road a bit later on, just when he sees Buddy buying more lights, and he attempts to cross the road whilst there's a car coming, and it is unnatural. This man isn't human.
It's so robotic.
I'm not going to deep dive into what has happened to this man to make him walk that straight up, but he is more robotic in this than in Inspector fucking Gadget.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it genuinely is.
Much more dynamic in that.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, so he sees them moving in across the street from them, and then they don't actually meet them till the next morning when he goes out to grab his paper in his boxes, as you do, with his steaming. Well, I imagine it's a hot chocolate. He seems like a hot chocolate in the morning guy because he thinks he's fun, but that's where the fun ends.
No, that's the 5th of December.
Oh,
You got to turn your calendar around. Today we're having hot chocolates and fun.
Buddy is there, paper in hand already, and we get a little meet between them. And we're also introduced to Kelly. Well, Kelly's already been in it, but Kelly's introduced to Tia, Buddy's wife.
Okay.
You're going to have to just say Buddy's wife. I did not absorb names.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got Matthew, Buddy, and the wives. That's what we're working with. But you've skipped over insane scene. Well, it is this scene. He walks out of the door.
Yeah.
He's got an open front garden, so he walks out the door. Buddy's standing in front of him. He absolutely loses his shit. Acts like he's jumping all over the place. He's freaking out of fear that there's a guy in front of him. I don't know. There's no explanation for what's happening.
No, he's not freaking out.
Then it's not freaking out, is it?
Yeah.
Because...
Well, can we say this? Because we're not referencing anything
Danny.
we've put out.
You're better than this, Danny.
Yeah, he says spazzing out.
He says, you're spazzing out on me.
And we all know it was probably mitosis.
This was questionable in evolution, which we never released, so this is the first time we're chucking this out. But at least evolution was before this. This is 2006.
Yeah, relatively. This isn't too long ago. Too
was
late
there a
to
big
be saying
cultural
spazzing
shift
out.
between 2003 and 2006?
Yeah.
Was evolution 2003? Okay, I'll take it back.
So they meet, nothing really comes
Anyway.
off it. We get the idea that...
We find out that Matthew Broderick's got his dick out.
Yeah. I wrote down, apparently her name's Tia.
Yes.
There you go. Buddy's wife calls out Matthew for
Little guy there.
having his dick out.
Yeah.
And we're meant to be like, leave the man alone. Why are you being so weird with him? Put your cock away. For fuck's sake.
Well, that's not until the 17th of December. It's got to remain out until then. He flips it around, there's a guy zipping up.
It's the 4th today. It's Dick's Out Day.
So early in the
Stop
episode.
shaming my Christmas.
So a bit of time passes, and the next scene is Kelly, which is Matthew's wife, brings over the kids, her two kids, Madison and Carter, to meet Tia and her kids at their house. I can't remember what they... Ashley and Emily. There you go. None of you need to remember this. This is the only scene they're all in. And
Forgotten
the only
about it.
reason I'm mentioning this is because two things are set up. One is that there's a vase in the house which is very expensive, and we should remember that for later because Buddy might need some money. And two, as the through line is to every single one of these family films we watch, there always must be a horny element. And in this film, it is Carter, the youngest boy who's having a midlife crisis, who sees a naked portrait of Tia and instantly hard. And then also
like
we meet
father,
Ashley
like
and
son,
Emily,
eh?
who
I don't like that.
how they're in any way related to Danny DeVito is insane because they look like a German genetics experiment. Two twins, blonde, tall, speak like robots. The mum says that that's the most clothes they ever wear, and they're not wearing a lot. And again, Carter pipes up.
Yeah.
It's just... This isn't just a Christmas movie. Here's your horniness.
Two horny boys in that family.
Well, yeah, we'll get
I
to
think-
that. Yeah, this isn't as bad compared to what's coming.
Yeah, this is fine compared to what we've got coming up. I think the joke here is that like Danny DeVito's with
Yes.
a woman who's way out of his league, but
So
that
is...
being the joke implies that Matthew's wife is not also way out of his league, as is every other human on Earth. But putting that aside, I don't know, it doesn't quite land.
No, not at all. It's more believable that a hot woman is with a nice dude than a hot woman being with the man equivalent of a slug.
Thing. Slug Jerry from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I went there. I know what you mean. So now we spend a bit more time with Buddy because he starts his new job at the Carl? The Carl dealership.
The Carl dealership.
Where we go
That's
to get
where
our
we got the
replacements.
replacement.
Yeah. At the car dealership. And he's a salesman. He's been in lots of sales jobs in the past. He can sell anyone anything. And that's proved straight away because three of his fucking bozo colleagues, they put some money on that he can't sell a car to a dude outside. Oh, it's the owner. Oh, he does sell the car. Very nice. He can do anything. But once he gets home after the day, he speaks to his wife, Tia, and, you know, she's happy for his success, but there's something else on Buddy's mind. He's not satisfied by these jobs he's doing or making those sales. He wants something big, something important, something monumental. That's going to be putting up big lights, isn't it?
Putting up big light. He finds out his daughters have got up what is basically Google Earth, except it's live, apparently. But maybe not.
No.
That's irrelevant. And since he's known that this satellite imagery exists for all of 6 or 7 seconds now, he makes it his life's aim to become visible from space. Somehow, Matthew's house, Broderick's house, Steve's house, whatever the fuck his name is, their house is visible and his isn't.
Yes.
Because it's very slightly smaller, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't quite work.
So he steps on a light in his garden after being shown this My Earth map thing. And that's where he sort of puts together that he wants to be seen from space using Christmas lights. So Matthew, in classic Matthew style, now confronts Buddy for making too much noise in the night whilst he's putting up Christmas lights. He's barely put any up yet, and he isn't making that much noise. And it's just the two of them out there in the middle of nowhere. But this is what he likes to do. He waits at the window for someone to make a noise outside so he can go out in his dressing gown and boxers. Well, no boxers, just in his dressing gown.
Of course he's a window peeper.
Yeah. Out of his window, into the street.
Blinds twitcher.
Yeah. He's at that little hole in the door, the little glass you see through. Oh, yeah. Oh, see, I've written a load of stuff here where I just complain about Matthew Broderick, but I've already done that, so I'll skip that for now. Buddy puts up all those lights. He goes in instantly to see if he can see his house from space, but he can't, because that's not how satellite imagery works.
He puts up all those lights over his entire big 2-story house with one small stepladder, which is pretty fucking impressive. The next scene, which I want to... Something I want to call out in the next scene, which other than this, it's quite a mundane scene. It's the next morning. Matthew flips round the little pivoting window on his calendar of fucking misery, and it's the Christmas jumper day. And he has the Christmas jumpers that he's forcing over all of his family's heads makes me so uncomfortable. Like the noses on the snowmen on these jumpers is just way too phallic. It's too long. It's just, I don't like it.
I imagine he's no trousering it again anyway, so...
Oh, just the jumper.
Of course he's winning the pooing.
Nice. Carrot, dick. Send out our Christmas card for the year. That's why no one else lives on that fucking street. Matthew Broderick Winnie the Poohing it around the street all the time to get his paper. Oh no, I dropped this steaming hot chocolate on myself.
Whilst this is happening, obviously the daughter doesn't want to be part of this. This is her whole arc in this story, is that she's too grown up to be doing any of this stuff. And Matthew's chasing her around the house, dodging and weaving in front of her to get the jumper on, A worse image when he realises he's got no trousers on, so it's flapping about. But luckily, Carter spots something out the window, and that is reindeer, some horses with some antlers taped onto them outside Buddy's house. So they all go out to check that out, and he's got a sled or a sleigh. I don't know the difference. A sleigh?
He's got a sleigh.
Cool. Sleigh, I think.
It's pretty sick sleigh.
Yeah, everything Buddy does is pretty sick.
He finds out they're doing their family photo and says, why don't you use this amazing Christmas sleigh I've got? And Matthew Broderick's response is, that's a horrible idea. That is cold. What a fucking terrible neighbour.
It's such a fucking great idea.
It's a great idea.
I think
he stood
surely
there,
we're all in at this point.
Dick hanging in the wind.
Thinking Danny DeVito's a great guy.
Yeah, this is the film trying to make you think that it's totally reasonable for Matthew to be spinning out about this. He's got tradition. He wants to do this with his family. This is his thing. It looks like Danny is stepping on his territory. And really, he doesn't even know they're taking pictures. He's just offering this really nice thing.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to make this a weekly thing, but do you want another story that makes me look really dumb?
Did you Winnie the Pooh it around town?
No, luckily not. For the longest time, I didn't think reindeer were real. I thought they existed in the same sense that Santa Claus did, which is not at all. And I couldn't tell you when I learned it.
Whoa. Our young viewers might not know that.
Trigger warning.
Sam forgets to mark these as explicit most weeks.
Oh, right, yeah. I'll remember it for this one. But I've spent more of my life thinking reindeers didn't exist than...
More of it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the maths on that.
Like a 70-30, I reckon.
That's too old.
Oh, yeah.
That's already too old.
Yeah.
Did you realise that reindeer exist before or after going to university?
In university.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I'd never seen one. I'd never had a conversation about one, And then, it's when I met Chloe, and she was like, they exist. I think she said reindeers can't eat carrots because their teeth are too soft. And I was like, well, they can't eat carrots because they're not fucking real, are they? Yeah, they are.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, pretty embarrassing.
Probably think unicorns are fake as well.
Oh, bro, don't get my hopes up.
But mentioning that is because Buddy wanted to get reindeer.
Yeah, but they're not local.
They're not local. They're not attainable.
They don't exist.
Not too long after this, he gets a camel.
Yeah, because camels do exist.
He's a couple of hours drive from Canada, based on Google Maps. So I feel like reindeer was at least more doable than a fucking camel.
Yeah. Why was there... Oh, the nativity. That's why they had a camel.
The nativity.
Yeah. And it does shit on Matthew Broderick later, so it does all work out for the better. So they suggest that Matthew and his family take the photo in the sled, but Buddy gives him the warning, don't be too loud around these horses, because he'd found them on the side of the on the side of the road earlier on. God, I'm so good at this. Obviously, the first thing does...
The first thing does.
I'll leave that in. Obviously, the first thing Matthew does is shout at the top of his lungs for his kid to get out of the sled, which he does, but he stays in it.
Jump around.
Flicks the fucking reins. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And he goes tearing down the motorway. Luckily for him, he's got some experience in out-of-control vehicles on the road and lands it safely in the lake.
Oh dear. There's a point.
It was going to come up.
There's a point during this where in his sleigh he flies over a car and a little boy goes, "I knew Santa existed." Does that little boy then see him just end up on the lake and witness Santa drown?
Crash straight in.
What a Christmas that kid is having.
Yeah.
I knew he was... Oh.
Imagine that, but being 22 in university, no, not 22, 19 in university, and learning reindeers are real. I knew they were real.
Did you find out they were real because one flew over your car?
No, just because Chloe said they couldn't eat carrots.
And when did you find out Santa wasn't real?
Oh, I never got presents, so I never thought he was. Dad was coming back with that milk at some point. That was the present I was waiting for. Anyway, Matthew Broderick gets some severe hypothermia and wakes up in a sleeping bag naked with Danny DeVito, who is... He makes it seem weird, but he's doing the right thing in this case. He's keeping Matthew warm.
What an absolute saint.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, this guy has just... He spent a lot of money on that sleigh and rounded up those horses and got them out. This guy immediately hopped on, stole his sleigh, stole his horses, killed the horses. Actually, maybe they got away, I don't know. Crashed the sleigh, lost him all of that. And I don't know how he fished him out of the ice. I don't know if he dove in or not. But got him out, got his clothes off, warmed him up, did all the right thing, all the right things. And again, we're meant to think,
who's
weird.
This creepy guy? The way Matthew
gay.
Broderick screams into the camera is guttural and sickening. The man isn't human. Is this the first Matthew Broderick film we've... No, it's not. We did The Cable Guy too. I just feel like it's always been in the background mob. We've never addressed it, but we have. Yeah, he's awful in that movie too. Worse in this, for sure, right?
I've never known an actor or a character to be worse in any film than this.
I disagree because he plays the same character in every movie he's in.
He whines more in this, which I feel like he's got a family to play to. In The Cable Guy, at least he's single, and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But in this, he's got a hot wife who's putting up with all this shit.
In this, he's also, like, aside from being his fucking slimy, smug self, he's just a bigot on top of it all. I mean, this guy's just saved his life, and he's screaming because the idea of a man being close to him, and, he's just an all-round slimeball.
There is a theme of him being sort of off-put by anything sexual in this movie. Like, he cannot conceive that his daughter would be interested in boys.
Yeah.
That's because she should only be interested in him, Evan.
Breaks him.
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. Let's pop that in the for later box and move quickly towards that scene, because it is fucking disgusting. To make up for the incident, because Buddy's aware that some of the blame's on him. Those horses were wrangled in from the side of the road, and Matthew made a big scene of it. So he feels a bit bad. He sends him a lovely Christmas card where his family are in the sleigh that he just almost drowned in, and he's been photoshopped in his hospital gown, pallid. Yeah. Pallid as the fucking Witch King. Horrific. And there's two things I love here, which is, one, that means Buddy went and fished the sleigh out of the pond, brought it back to the family. They all took the photos so he could Photoshop them in later, which means the family didn't go to the hospital to visit their hyper...
They got a photo in the sleigh where he may have died.
Yes, yeah.
They could have been sure, yeah.
Yeah, he's still on the machine, beeping away.
We're losing him.
We'll put him in post, don't worry. Put Dad in post. But, well, we all know what that's like.
We've all photoshopped dads into pictures.
But also, I love the insinuation here that this man is fully capable of using Photoshop to a degree where Matthew Broderick looked like he was in that photo, but can't conceive that satellite imagery isn't live.
I mean, he looked like he was in the photo. He didn't look like he was in the same place as the other people in the photo.
Well, that's because of his colour. That was because he was ghostly. I can't quite remember what happens after this. So he comes back home. He's fine after like a day, and he sees the Christmas card that Buddy printed 50 of them so he could send them around, which I did find quite funny.
Yeah.
But then we learn that Buddy is stealing power from Matthew's household in order to power all the lights he has on his house. And that's all we hear about that for now. We'll have a little confrontation a little bit later, but Matthew's suspicious of that. But he is always of something. He's always twitching at that window, isn't he? And now, out of fucking nowhere, even though Matthew hates Buddy, he takes him into his private tree lot, which I assume is just to be slug and slimy and show off your 5 trees he's been growing for 15 years. Ugh.
It's at like a I don't know what you call it, a large allotment where you go and buy a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
It's a farm or whatever it is.
A normal concept, I feel that. But him having
but
sectioned off lot.
You go there and he's got his little gated private allotment with his name on it and his Christmas trees. This is the point in the movie that absolutely cemented for me that this guy is an irredeemable cunt.
A man who doesn't have a fence around his own garden got a white picket fence put around his 5 Christmas trees. Just awful. And he doesn't dig them out of the ground, he chops them down, so you can't then replace one with another for the 6th year. Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably reading too much into it, but...
No.
Probably a little bit. Maybe he just moves the picket fence. He is the human equivalent of a white picket
He probably
fence.
extends the picket fence. Just further and further.
Oh, yeah. Leave the stumps.
But this is the scene where we learn a little bit more about that weird walk of his, where Buddy has knocked over a canister of petrol.
Kind of gas.
And Steve, Matthew's wife, says, "What smells like gas?" And he says, "Well, I am swinging this X pretty hard."
What?
So,
what is that joke?
We're pretty loose down there, I guess,
does
at
that
this
mean?
point.
Also, he chopped that tree like the fucking Tin Man at the start of The Wizard of Oz. It's horrid.
Everything he does is horrid.
Does chopping wood cause sparks?
No. I think... I don't know. I'm probably giving him too much credit. I feel like there was a small metal pole, I don't know why it was there, next to the trunk, that was maybe like a little pole to stabilise the tree, keep it straight. But that is giving this film way too much credit, so...
We're writing the answers for the movie now, justifying.
Yeah.
He's chopping at a trunk, it sparks, lights the gas, sets all 5 trees on fire. You can all imagine. Imagine now, you're watching a Matthew Broderick film, and he's been given the opportunity to whine about something. There's the next 10 minutes of the movie.
That's the next hour.
So now, this is the only other time we see Matthew working, and that's in his optometrist's, pharmacist's... He's in the front of the store. I can't imagine why an optometrist would have a front of the store with selling stuff, but let's go with it. He then sees Buddy across the street.
He literally just throws glasses at people anyway, so never sells any.
Those are on the house, baby.
Better with one or two.
There's about 7 people in this town. They've
all got glasses.
Can you sell?
He sees Buddy across the street packing yet more Christmas lights into his car. To be fair, I would be annoyed about light coming in through my window. I can understand that. And I feel the film relies quite a lot on you understanding that would be an annoying trait in a neighbour. But they just needed a more normal guy to try and present that to us as an audience. Because the way he reacts...
You know what? I would be...
another tirade. Sorry.
I'd be more sympathetic to him.
Yeah.
Because we see... I can't remember when the scene is, but there's a scene where he's tried to block up his window with... I mean, obviously his curtains and then also some more like blankets draped over the top. But he's left one big fuck-off hole in the middle that shines light directly onto his own face.
Well, yeah, so he likes being pissed off. This is his thing.
He likes... Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it?
He never wants to solve the problem. He wants to look like he has, but continue to be angry about it. That's his whole thing.
He needs to make sure there's problems to whine about.
Yes. Oh. Matthew runs over to Buddy to stop him from buying, even though he's already bought them all. He wants him to return them to the store. But there's an extra kick in the teeth here because the mayor comes over and he looks like he's about to ask Matthew a question about the Winterfest. Mr. Christmas himself. But really he's asking Buddy, who's now Mr. Christmas because of all the lights he's got in his house. Oh, you can imagine this annoyed Matthew. Oh, he's not pleased that he's not the centre of attention in this town now. Buddy goes over, checks the tree. It's all good. Matthew tells passers-by they can just steal stuff from Buddy's car, like the protagonist of your story does. Really Christmassy stuff.
He's absolutely fuming, leaking petrol all over the place.
Obviously, he doesn't solve anything there. They both head back home. He's open another day on the calendar. It's carol time. The carolers are showing up outside Matthew's house, but Buddy's outdone him again. He's got a big old show going on outside. He's turning the lights on. He's doing a big old fucking concert, and he's got the press there. This is how little happens in this town, is that the press is there for some lights.
This is the dynamic for... I mean, we're kind of going over it again. This is the dynamic for the whole film, is the house gets brighter and bigger and louder, and cut back to Matthew to be all pissy about it.
There's the plot synopsis.
It's that, and Buddy's family has a positive effect on the different members of Matthew's family. His wife has a friend. His daughter has become more outgoing as a person, and he fucking hates it. If they don't do as they're told, when they're told, he cannot stand it. It's strangely controlling.
Yeah. Danny DeVito moves in, makes everything better for everyone.
Yeah. His daughter comes down.
We're meant to side with the...
His daughter comes down and she's dressed more like a teenager, I guess, and he's not happy, wants her covered up now because...
wants her to cover up.
Dad might get another erection.
Yeah, you get the "you're mine, no one else's" vibe from that, don't you? That's what it felt like to me. Yeah.
I could tell from that little look that Crescentia walked past, as you said, Dad might get another erection.
Yep, that is exactly what happened.
So Buddy tells the press outside his house that he's not done yet and reveals to everyone else in the movie, not us, we already know this, that he wants his house to be seen from space. Matthew's not pleased about this and he tries to get out of there. And we get this just drawn-out sequence where he's reversing a car between two RVs. I don't know how this is supposed to be making him look, because he's just whines the entire time. He breaks his car, the doors come off at either side of the RV.
There's a man there who has offered to help.
Yeah.
Who says, people nowadays just can't drive anymore. And he's not fucking wrong, is he?
I mean, yeah, look who he's talking to. The man's never shown this much concern for his own driving before. Why start now?
He's never checked his blind spot before.
And also, if you're trying to reverse out of a very small space like this, and some random swaying pedestrian with a beer in hand says, yeah, you can do that, it's your own fault when you believe it.
Yeah. From the scene as well, it seemed like it was those guys, like both of those were his RVs, because Matthew asked the question, whose RVs are these? And the guy says, what, are you looking to buy? He just brought both of them to this light show, hoping to sell them. Well, I mean, I would park my RVs outside Matthew Broderick's house, to be fair, but...
Buy two just to block his driveway, yeah.
That wouldn't
yeah, you can get through there, mate.
He'll be
make sure you're not in them when
through
he
them.
reverses.
Nary an RV or a woman on the road could stop Matthew Broderick. Although I think she was in a car. Every time I retell that story to someone, it makes him look much worse than... I mean, it was a bad event, but I painted in a much worse light each time. I was talking about this last night at a Christmas party. So now, the reason he's driving us is because he wants to go report Buddy to the police. And we just get a really out of left field fucking scene here. What was this about?
I mean, we get
Well, look, I said he was a bigot.
We get a hint at it earlier from the mayor saying, "I've never told anyone before, but the sheriff is a cross-dresser," showing that he can keep a secret. But
Yeah, that's the kind of the build up to this, what they want to be a punchline. But the scene is that as he's filing a complaint, the sheriff agrees to help him. He says, "Okay, yeah, sure. If you want to file a complaint, then I'll just go grab you the form." So he goes to get the form. He peeks a little bit of women's underwear out.
Bit of a bra.
What's Matthew's response?
Oh, to
just walks.
To yeah.
Storms out, just walks.
Weird walk that he does.
Minces his way out, furious.
Or anything sexualized at all completely wards off Matthew Broderick. He cannot deal with it.
Yeah, the idea of seeing underwear on anyone other than his daughter absolutely kills him.
Fuck. I was trying to do a nice Christmas movie, Sam. Also, did you hear what the complaint he was making was? Which is the most Matthew Broderick complaint, and also he fucking printed it out the fucking cuck. Light trespass.
Yeah.
Oh, this is our protagonist. I'm convinced they're trying to make us think.
Only you think that. No one else thinks this is the protagonist of the movie. It's the only movie ever with two antagonists.
So, because he can't file the complaint because of the cross-dressing sheriff, he decides to take action into his own hands.
That is the plot setup for the next bit of this movie, isn't it? Well, what else could I do?
He must
the sheriff's
take the
got a
law
thong
into his own hands and cut the power himself. His son catches him going out there in all the gear, all the blackout gear he's going out.
Oh, yeah, sorry, point on that. He's going to, I mean, infiltrate is a strong word, but he's going to infiltrate the neighbour's garden, which is lit up with Christmas lights. That's the whole premise. So he dresses in full black.
Yep.
How's that helping you? Dress as Santa, you dumb shit.
Oh, and Buddy is awake because, of course, he's awake because his house is
because he's never slept before.
Lit up to fuck. But there is a scene where Buddy comes out of the door as Matthew is sneaking through his yard, and so Matthew Broderick hides behind a bobbing snowman, and instead of just staying at the lowest level that snowman bobs to, he bobs up and down in time with the snowman. And I genuinely think if this were a different actor, I'd be fine with it, but something about him makes me so just...
I completely agree.
Agree.
Something that just angers me. I think the someone who competed with Broderick for roles around this time, I think, was Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
At this point, probably not, no.
Okay, possibly not at this point.
But
just thinking like him doing the same joke, I reckon that would have...
likable guy.
It's just because I can't stand...
Another guy who regularly competes with Matthew Broderick for roles, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd have accepted that.
Of course. Oh my God, if this had been... Yeah.
Well, luckily we do already have that movie, boys. It's
Twins reunion.
We can watch it at some point.
For Deck the Halls, I would have been very on board.
And Jingle All the Way.
Is Danny DeVito in Jingle All the Way?
Oh no, sorry. Just Arnold.
Well, I mean, all Arnold Schwarzenegger movies are reunions then. He's always there.
I didn't catch a reunion. I just heard we've got that film, Christmas film with Arnold. So yeah,
I like that. That was akin to time traveling by the sense that we all do.
Just Arnold Schwarzenegger and Arnold Schwarzenegger doing that two hands meeting thing from Predator at the start of every movie he's in. We're back. We're doing it again.
Amazing. One more thing about this scene that really pissed me off. And it shouldn't really piss me off because it's a really tiny thing, but it does. He's dressed in all black. He's got like a black cap on. Probably I didn't notice that because I was so annoyed by this. So he goes around to the side of the house to sabotage a fuse box.
Yeah.
Opens it up, throws some snow in it. Before he does that, he gets around to the side, takes his hat off, puts it on the side, throws the snow in the fuse box and walks away. Leaves his hat there. First of all, why are you taking your hat off? It makes no sense. And second of all, why didn't that come back up? That's never picked up again.
It's almost like this is a bad movie. And third of all, our protagonist, if he is one, just left a family with no lighting or heating in the middle
That was going to be my next note.
Very cold winter.
Also, we skipped over the fact that his son Carter is there, but there's a nice little another horny moment where he's just looking through teenage girl's window, pillow fighting, and he gets a bit of a horn on again.
Who wrote this?
Of course he does.
Yep. Why is it necessary? Who is that joke for? It's not for kids who are just going to see a Christmas movie, and it can't be for adults, because that just makes me feel uncomfortable. Who is that for? Thank you, boys.
We're all shrugging at each other.
Have it noted that they shrugged. Yes, I made that same note, Cole. A very Christmassy hero we have, cutting off the power for this family. But don't worry, Buddy has a backup generator, which is also louder than his other power source, so Matthew gets what's coming to him.
Yeah.
But then he also finds the remnants of the snowball inside his, help me with the word?
Fuse box?
Fuse box. And knows that, even though it's fucking completely obvious that Matthew did it, since he's in tactical gear.
In his sort of Halloween costume spy kit.
Yeah, spot on. Thank you, Sam. Yes.
Covered in camel shit. And camel spit.
We skipped over that. Yeah, he fell into the camel's pen and then the camel also shit on him. Very good stuff. That's what I want to see more of. Just more of that, please.
Yeah.
Matthew wakes up the next day and you don't get the sense he's feeling guilty about what he's done. But he is aware that Buddy
This is a man who has no shame.
Yes, or feelings in general at all, really. But he wakes up to find that Buddy has sent him a new tree after the debacle at the private tree garden earlier on. And also, there's a car waiting outside for them. Matthew's not suspicious about either of those things, really. Except the car, because he wouldn't he? The slimy little bastard. And doesn't notice that the tree is obviously the tree from the town centre with the massive Marilyn Monroe on top. But that'll become important again in a sec. At the same time, I don't know what this was for. Buddy was brought into a meeting at work, basically to get told off that he's spending too much time doing lights and not enough time selling cars. I don't think that's important.
It's not really. I mean, it doesn't answer the question that has been on my mind for a while at this point in the film, which is, where the hell is he getting all of the money for this?
Yeah.
And why were we shown...
He sold one car.
Why were we shown that he's a great salesman when his job never matters again? Being a great salesman never matters again. He's getting fired from the job we were shown he was great at in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
This is just so Matthew can turn up and say that, because we've also found out that Matthew has to pay for the car that Buddy has given him. You have to pay for it today or we're going to court, is what some random woman tells him. I have no idea who that was.
And this is it. Like, Buddy cannot be the protagonist.
What?
The guy who steals the town tree and then scams his neighbour into buying a car because he needs the commission on it isn't the protagonist.
His neighbour's Matthew Broderick.
And his neighbour's Matthew Broderick, so he's not the protagonist.
It's just after this, after you've dealt with half a movie of Matthew Broderick being such a little shit, you do become the protagonist. This is the tipping point for when now there's two antagonists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Matthew has to pay back the car because Buddy's forged his signature. But this is where they agree that because of the ice skating race at the Winterfest, which is happening soon, they will use that to decide what happens. Either Buddy takes down the lights if Matthew wins, or Matthew pays for the car if Buddy wins.
I mean, yeah, just to recap that, the stakes driving this movie forward are either a man who needs a car buys a car, or another man takes down some Christmas lights. That is the high stakes
of this Christmas
that we're working
movie.
with.
Yeah.
That's as big as it gets.
Matthew Broderick does not need a car. He shouldn't have a fucking license, mate.
That's true.
So now it's the Winter Festival. This is where all stakes will be settled. And they have a few competitions here because they both try and knock down some little nutcrackers with some snowballs. And Matthew Broderick obviously hits an old woman in the face.
He's used to that.
What the fuck? But this is where Tia and Kelly, the wives of each character, try to get them to make up and just put all this shit behind them. But they don't believe they can agree on anything. Until some very lovely ladies in some Santa costumes come onto the stage and start dancing and doing some carols.
Santa babies.
Some sexy stuff. Yeah, this is
The Santa babies.
stuff that would turn heads, make any man agree with another man about anything. Which one of you boys wants to do it?
Who's your daddy? They shout at the stage. Oh,
A man
hell.
who has been allergic to any sort of sexualization so far shouts, "Who's your daddy?" at the stage 10 times, while Danny DeVito cheers him on, for it to be revealed.
He's so excited while he's doing
Yeah,
it.
he's coming out of his shell in this moment. He's finding who he really is. I'm a "who's your daddy" guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
but it doesn't-
He's finding out that's the kind of guy he is. And we're meant to be endeared to him
Yeah.
at this point.
We're supposed to be shouting, "Who's your daddy?" too.
Before we get the big reveal
Yeah.
on why this is not okay, there is no situation where this is okay.
Yeah.
Nobody,
In case anyone's in any doubt.
nobody should ever be shouting at performers on stage, "Who's your daddy?" because they're dressed a bit skimpily. Nobody stood next to their fucking wife should be shouting, "Who's
Yeah.
your daddy?" to some girls on stage.
His wife is like 3 paces away, just out of shot.
And
These two men are foaming at the mouth,
his
looking at
wife is
these
there.
like 15, 16-year-olds.
He's setting a bad
His son
influence
is
for
there.
his son is there.
Yep.
But where's his daughter?
Well, what a coinky
Well.
dink this is. She's on stage
Good thing
call
you asked.
with the 2 daughters of Buddy. They turn around, reveal it's them, and both men obviously feel sickened to their cores, as you do.
I think 5 men felt sickened to their cause
Yeah.
because we're all watching this.
I was sickened to my core before. I knew what the reveal was going to be before it
yeah.
happened, but just hearing Matthew Broderick shout, "Who's your daddy?" was enough for my throat to close a little. But I think one thing that needs to be discussed is who planned Winterfest. Matthew Broderick planned Winterfest.
Oh my god.
Who are the 2 Mr. Christmases that were on the planning committee?
He knew his daughter was performing on that fucking stage. He had to.
That... I can't believe I didn't put that together for one. 2, I could believe a scenario where Matthew Broderick did know that, obviously he did know his daughters were going on that stage, and he only hounded Danny into cheering his own daughters with "Who's your daddy?"
Horrible, right?
I honestly,
Yeah.
I think we have to move on because even thinking about this, it's making me sick again. Horrible, horrible, horrible scene.
I do like that they go to a church and wash out their eyes with holy water, though.
That was funny, but I felt like I couldn't really enjoy it because of,
And
recovering
just so we
from that.
see what kind of man Steve is, he still then tries to blame Danny DeVito. That's all your fault that I am the way I am.
So now we're heading headfirst into the speed skating race, which is just as it sounds. They do a little bit of skating around the rink, and whoever wins obviously
No,
wins
they-
the bet from earlier.
Do not, Evan. Stupid, sexy Broderick shows up in his full
Yeah, we're gonna mention
skin-tight body condom.
Have you two seen Despicable Me?
Well, I was just thinking of Flanders in his skiing
sure.
outfit.
Actually, yeah, that's an even better reference.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's 100% Flanders. Stupid, sexy Flanders.
And what I love about this scene is it's pretty fucking shit, for one. It's not that good. And to find out that Matthew Broderick trained with Olympian speed skaters.
No.
Why? For Deck the Halls.
Is that an actual, is that a bit of trivia?
As the trivia guy, I very rarely actually bring trivia, but that's genuine trivia. Yeah.
I thought you meant just his character said that. Matthew
No,
Broderick
no.
himself. Oh
In
my
preparation for this
That is
movie,
crazy.
he trained with like US Olympian speed skaters. He didn't need that
To
much
fall
prep.
over twice.
Danny DeVito rocked up in a hockey shirt and did the exact same scene.
Sorry, but I went to the effort of pausing when they showed Danny DeVito, and his stunt double is half his age and twice his height. And it's hilarious. Looks absolutely nothing like him. Full head of hair.
I'll take it back then. Matthew Broderick was justified in doing all the training.
Well, Buddy wins the race, but don't worry, our protagonist gets one last snipe in by shouting at Danny in front of the whole crowd that he'll still be invisible and his house will never be seen.
How does it feel to be poor and a loser, Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
That's our protagonist. Well, I'm still richer than you.
Yeah.
So Buddy goes home deflated, even after winning, and he's putting up more lights. Well, no, he's ordering more lights, and it's very apparent that he can't afford what he's ordering. But what does he spot that we saw earlier on in the movie? It's that vase, that MacGuffin, the very expensive vase that is owned by Tia. It was her grandmother's. He pawns that off, buys those lights, sparks that house right up. She catches on right away because just like Matthew leaving his hat behind, he leaves the stand for the vase where the vase used to be.
Yeah.
He puts on a massive light show with his new lights. It's pretty fucking sick, to be fair. I did enjoy this. Some music, it's all coordinated. But as he's mixing, he can see his family leaving. And instead of just stopping what he's doing or just pressing play and letting it continue, he continues to jam out on those little wheels and watch them drive away.
He spins the decks harder.
And it's smoking.
Whilst calling out to his family not to leave.
Yeah. Don't go!
Spin through the sadness.
And in his anger, he says to the crowd, but very much to Matthew Broderick, that he'll be putting on this same show every night until 4 a.m. Because the film does have to try and remind us that maybe Matthew Broderick isn't the only bad guy here.
Well, we see this light show, it gets more and more advanced. I think Matthew Broderick could probably go back to the police at the point where Buddy's house at 4 a.m. every morning projects a big picture of his face going, "Good night, Steve." At that point, you can go and get someone done for harassment, I think.
More justified then.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew can't go back to the police because of the bra and panties.
Oh, true, it's unnatural.
You couldn't step in the same room. Yeah. I also, just quick note, the man who has put up and programmed this light show and video edited together the various cartoons and pictures and clips and done the music and DJ'd it still does not know how to use Google Maps.
He's just got one flaw, it's Google Maps. Everything else he's sick at.
His only weakness.
Yeah. In retaliation, Matthew's got a plan, Steve's got a plan. He goes out to a back alley somewhere, meets the shadiest looking guy, cracks open the trunk of that guy's car. He's buying fireworks, illegal fireworks, with a plan in mind. Is it not astounding that it's easier for a kid to buy a gun than it is for a fully grown man to buy fireworks?
Pretty normal fireworks as well,
Yeah.
based on what we see.
The super atomic one that accidentally falls down his chimney, does barely any damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're getting at here. His plan is, his very Christmassy good guy plan, is to set up the fireworks on his roof and fire them directly at Buddy's house. I don't know what the plan is other than to burn down Buddy's house, because surely that's the only outcome.
He doesn't say that.
He tried to freeze them to death. It didn't work.
He says his plan is to give Buddy a heart attack, our protagonist of the movie.
Yes, he does say that.
Yeah.
I just want to kill him. I don't want to burn his house down. Certainly not my own.
I'm perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, so the big atomic one goes down his own chimney because he's a fucking gimp, so obviously it does. And his wife is in that room. She sees the thing that looks like a bomb in the fireplace and just goes, ooh. He runs into the room, doesn't really do anything. It goes off, it bounces around everywhere, hits the tree, it all catches fire. It's only at this point that his wife decides to leave him. Fair dues.
Crazy.
She could fucking put up with a lot for this to be the final straw. And the police and the firemen obviously come.
The police come to the house.
Yeah.
And ask him about what he describes here as illegal grade military fireworks.
I didn't catch that.
Missiles.
Military
It's
fireworks.
not a fucking thing, for one. And either he fucked up that line, because I assume it must have been military grade illegal fireworks, and they just kept it anyway, or someone fucking wrote that. There is no one in the military.
They're grading fireworks, and the top one's called illegal grade.
Well, it implies that the military's going, "Oh God, private, get the illegal grade equipment now."
Oh my god.
Yes, so the police find the Marilyn Monroe porcelain doll, the aforementioned doll from earlier, in Matthew's house, and they realise that the tree is stolen. But don't worry, nothing more comes of that. Now, his wife is packing up, she's got the kids in the car, and she's leaving. And you're right, Sam, his response to this, in true Matthew style, is fucking inhuman. Because all he's concerned with is, what am I going to eat for dinner?
Yeah.
The love of your life and your children
Wow.
are leaving. Well, okay. The woman that you've
The woman you've married and the love of your life are leaving with your son.
cracking.
I assume the firework incident was just cover to get her daughter away from him. Well, what am I? She calls him out on all his many flaws throughout the movie, and he doesn't have his moment of realization. He just says, "But what am I going to eat?"
Yeah.
And
It's just
so
horrendous.
Buddy's wife has left
He's
him.
so fucking alien. Yeah.
Buddy's wife and kids have left him. Steve's wife and kids have left him because they're two awful people, and they finally get their comeuppance. And
Well, hang on.
that's the end of the movie,
Here,
right?
Buddy returns home, and having his wife and kids have just left, and Matthew's response is, "You weren't even in. I did all this for nothing." He doesn't give a shit
I tried
they've
to
gone.
set fire to your house, and you weren't even in.
Yeah, all he's annoyed about is that at least this guy might have had a heart attack still. He might have been scared enough by me burning my house down that he's dead still.
My only consolation is he could be dead.
Merry
We know
Christmas,
that
me.
Buddy's a good guy, though, because he wasn't in because he spent the entire night harassing his wife and kids, hoping that would make them come home.
Throwing stones at the window.
I mean, he's torn up enough about losing his wife and kids that he said, I was out all night
Throwing pebbles
throwing
at their
pebbles
window.
at the window,
Yep.
trying to get to the... And
Shouting, "What am I
Matthew,
gonna eat?"
Steve, Matthew, his wife's just left, and he just heads in and watches the film.
Yeah.
In the
He's like,
room that's
chill.
burnt down with the holes in the windows,
down
he puts
room.
on a coat and he sits there wiping his little Christmas photos with all his family in the jumpers, rubbing the ash off them with a Christmas film on. And this is the truly astounding thing about this movie, because there's no lesson to be learned. He must learn his lesson from a different Christmas movie for this movie to move forward.
Yeah, because he only feels sorry for himself right now.
You say move forward. I'm happy to call it here. Two guys got their comeuppance to the end.
Yeah, this would have been a nice place for the movie to end, but unfortunately there is another 20 minutes.
I don't have a single note on the next 20 minutes.
We don't have to do it, Evan.
Let's power through it. Well, he watches those fucking Christmas movies. Buddy is taking down the lights, finally. He's gotten everything he's wanted. But Dr. Finch, Matthew walks over to him. He has a little bit of a gloat, but then he says, maybe there is something we can do to get our families back. They take all the lights, create a trail from the motel through the town square back to Buddy's house. For some reason, both families are staying in the same motel together rather than going and staying with extended family.
Yeah, they're
Who
in
gives
the
a
same
shit
room.
at this point? We're coming to the end of this fucking movie. And instead of being freaked out or just assuming that those are Christmas decorations from the hotel, they all decide to follow the trail of lights, never at one point questioning that this is just leading them back to their house. They're still like, ooh, where are we going?
Yeah.
Of all people, these two families should be fucking sick of Christmas lights by this point. I would not be going, ooh, let's follow these.
And they end up back at Buddy's house for a lovely meal they've cooked from... This is just inserted here. Remember that cookbook we mentioned? Well, Kelly has written it and Matthew has access to it, and they've cooked a really lovely looking raw squash that's made to look like a reindeer in the middle of the table.
all the cooking instructions are gone, mate.
Get a squash. Serve.
Cut the rest of this shit out. It's just filler.
And they made that squash look like a reindeer for some reason. They don't even exist.
And true. And for some reason, even though Danny's been missing his family and he's thrown stones at the window and everything, he could not give a shit that they're here. He just negs them from the moment they walk in, like, it's sure made you a dinner, you're going to be happy about it. And then Matthew reveals it's from the cookbook and they have the dinner? No, because people turn up now. Yes, thank God. We're coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody from the town turns up. They've taken time out from their Christmas fucking Eve, to come put more lights on Danny's house. Because Matthew's called, Matthew, that really likeable guy everybody in the town likes. Well, he's called everyone and told them to bring all the lights from their home to Buddy's house. They get there, and Buddy's taking all his fucking lights down. Can you imagine how annoyed you would be getting there to help put more lights on, and he's fucking stopped it?
I mean, two of them were able to fill an entire town with a trail of Christmas lights.
Yeah.
They didn't need any help.
Oh, and then we get, this is awful, where everybody holds up their fucking Nokias because the lights go out, the power cuts, obviously, a little bit of deflation for us, everything's not happy. And everybody holds up their Nokias like it's fucking Harry Potter when Dumbledore dies. Just sickening. Everybody's seen it.
It's fine. Yeah. It's been
nobody listens this far. Everybody stopped listening at this point, Sam. Everybody makes up. They put the lights. You can see it from space. There's the end of the fucking movie. Yeah. That was good, wasn't it?
I don't know. Was it?
Well, let's do bad reviews first. See what other people thought of that.
Whoa.
Are you kidding me? For once,
he always
got
catches us off,
trivia.
doesn't he? Catches us off guard.
I mean, I don't know if it counts as trivia. I went to the trivia section of IMDb, and I'm pretty certain this was just put there because IMDb does not have a gossip section. And I'm just going to read this word for word because it makes me very happy, but it makes no sense in the order that it's in. According to gossip, the main actors were unhappy on set. Kristen Chenoweth was still coping with her split from Aaron Sorkin. Danny DeVito flew in to film his scenes rather than interact with anyone. And Matthew Broderick could be found on set shaking his head in disbelief, repeatedly stating, "I've hit rock bottom." Kristen Davis told her she should have her eggs frozen. That's just in there at the end.
Kristen Davis told who?
It just says her. I'm assuming that it was connected to the Kristen Chenoweth having recently been divorced.
But at the end, right, so the wife wrote the order of those things then.
Psychopathic, cold advice ever is just, well, you should probably get your eggs frozen then. But yeah, I take a lot of joy in knowing Matthew Broderick was on set, head in hands, I've hit rock bottom.
Have you? Or are you par
No, you haven't,
with everything else you've done?
I think you hit rock bottom a little while ago.
Eventually, you won't be on any movie sets at all, so...
I love how this is rock bottom for him, but he killed that woman before now. That wasn't rock bottom. Deck the Halls was.
He only got like £100 fine, so...
Is that all the trivia, Cole?
Yeah, surprisingly, it's not a deep dive on IMDb for this one. It's like no one cared about it. The rest is just, this person also appeared in a show with this person.
If there's anything that describes this movie, it's that nobody cared about it. You are fucking right about that.
I'll take you into reviews real quickly. Roger Moore, probably not the Roger Moore, said that this movie isn't worth building up a hate about, and I think we've proven him wrong. So
yeah, I mean, 4 people, at least, cared one way or another about this enough to write reviews. More than 4 people, but these are the 4 that I picked. So I'm going to go through some bad reviews.
Yes, this was my favourite bit.
First one, this is all written without punctuation, so I'm going to read it that way. Wouldn't it be so funny if the dads get so horny they start bonding, but it turns out it's their daughters in sexy outfits and they're like, I'm your daddy, but then, yikes, I'm your daddy. Bad movie. Bad. Hate this. Which, yeah, really articulates what I was trying to say. And that was Half a Star by Daniel Brenneman. Half a Star, yeah. Another one we've got... on August 5th, 1987, while driving a rented BMW in Enniskillen, Northern Ireland, Matthew Broderick crossed into the wrong lane and collided head-on with a Volvo driven by Anna Gallagher, 28, accompanied by her mother, Margaret Doherty, 63, killing both instantly. And that's 2 stars by Sam Corner.
Oh, fuck.
And no one needs to
edit around that one a little bit.
No one needs to Google what we've been talking about.
No.
No, there you go. There's the context.
Oh,
this one didn't get a star rating from Flim Flam Films. Matthew Broderick required a lot of training for the scene. Fuck. Matthew Broderick required a lot of training for the scene where he has to tell people to get out of the way of his car.
I thought we were done with the last one.
No, one last final shot in there.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, it's dark. Oh,
good stuff.
There you go.
I loved all the.
Thought I'd end it on a low
I'm
note.
glad it's not just us.
So we've reached that time again, boys?
I think we have.
So,
Evan.
Evan,
Fuck.
You think that was
think
good?
that was
do you?
good, do you?
Clearly I fucking don't, do I?
Then why did you make us watch it, Evan?
I thought there would be more value in that relationship between Danny and Matthew, but it was just really fucking awful all the way through. If what that trivia said was true, where Danny was just flying in and Matthew hated this, that really, really came through in this movie. It's just not enjoyable. It's not a Christmas movie. It's stressful. It's just one guy whining and one guy winding. It's kind of like this podcast. Yeah, one guy whining. Other guy's winding him up.
Oh, God. Are we all Matthew Broderick?
And you guys can be Danny DeVito. I'll be Matthew. Oh, God.
There's a little Matthew Broderick inside all of them.
There's a lot in... No, I'm not
Nope.
going to finish that.
I feel like we've spent however long it's been tearing apart this movie. You know why I don't like it. There's not a lot that's redeemable about this. There's some good enough acting for what they had to do. The wives were good, Kristen Chenoweth, and the person who's not Katie Holmes. The kids were fine, I guess. That's maybe from Arrested Development. That was nice, I guess, just to see her in something else. But they didn't do much, and I would never watch this again. And I've seen this 3 times in the past 2 weeks. I really didn't want to have to watch it again. I only took notes the last time. They put it on last night at the Christmas party I was at, and I tried not to watch, but you can hear Matthew Broderick, regardless of where you are at a fucking party. No, I didn't enjoy this. Sam, did you enjoy this?
I'm glad it's not just you. I mean, I enjoyed aspects of it. I like Danny DeVito, and it had 1 or 2 all right jokes, but no, there's absolutely no way that I enjoyed it. I don't know who this was for. Like we've said at fucking great length, it's 2 antagonists. Neither of them are that likable. The jokes seem to have been written in complete isolation because they don't tie into anything, and they're pretty tone deaf.
What?
And yeah, so I mean...
You didn't think that the pants on the sheriff was a really good classic joke that applies to everything? We all feel that way. We'd all be disgusted. I wouldn't submit a police report if he was wearing pants, Sam. Sorry, I've stepped on you here.
That joke obviously made me think that this film was older than it was because it feels really dated. It feels like something that you might have got away with in like 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And weirdly, it was seeing maybe, as in the girl who played Matthew Broderick's daughter in this, and seeing like, that was my barometer for how recent this film was. I didn't look at the date before it came out. I was like, oh, so this is quite a recent-ish film. So why are they doing this? Why does it feel like it's 20 years older than it is? I don't know. Really weird vibe to the whole thing. And nah.
Well, I think that probably speaks to
bad.
why this probably wasn't successful. I did see this in the cinema, which is another reason I wanted to pick it. It felt like a nostalgic movie to me. I will never think that again. But I don't see other people talking about this film, really. Like, you two had never seen this before. It's clearly not a film that's within the Christmas zeitgeist for people, and that's probably why. It's a bit dated for even being more recent than most Christmas movies we watch.
What do you reckon, Carl? You're going to say that you loved it?
I'm just going to respond with what I messaged Evan when I ended the movie. Fuck you, Evan.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, okay.
My bad. I haven't had to apologise in a while, so I will do a sincere one here. I am sorry, boys. This did suck. It was really, really hard to watch. It took ages. But I'm looking forward to the next one. That should, at least, even if that's bad and it's not as good as we remember, at least in contrast to this, it will feel good.
Yeah, you need a terrible one in there every now and then to bring the average down. I don't know.
I think the last one I truly didn't enjoy was The Rocketeer. Enjoyed the episode, not the film.
I didn't like the one with I've forgotten what it was called now.
Mimic?
The one with the mystery man who definitely wasn't a cockroach.
Mimic, yeah.
Mimic, there it is.
That had more redeeming qualities for me. I think the element of the mystery man all the way through made it funny at least, but I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Who could he be?
Well, it's not a cockroach, we know that. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you, boys, for joining me. I am sorry. Usually I enjoy it if you don't enjoy the movie, but this one did suck. I am. Right before Christmas as well. I'm sorry, boys. As I've just said, Christmas is on us next weekend, so you'll have to wait until the new year for the next episode, which will be another Christmas episode, because we want to do 3, and then I'll be Gremlins 1984, if we still plan to go ahead with that, boys.
Hell yeah.
Yes, lovely jubbly. I'm looking forward to that. One of my favourites. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and follow us at So You Think Pod on Twitter. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all you listeners. Until then, goodbye and sorry.
And Merry Christmas.
And who's your daddy?